how to become one. So today we are going to deep dive into what it really takes to become a pilot.
With that became a CFI. What's a CFI? It's a certified flight instructor.
Okay.
It's going to cater to, so if a student wants to come back to Delhi, where we're filming this today, and is working in industry, but they're passionate about, and they promise their mom and dad or whatever
You have 30 seconds to convince them why Spartan College right now is the place to be. Hi everyone, welcome to iOS YouTube channel again. As a kid, I always dreamt of becoming a pilot, flying high, traveling the world and experiencing different experiences. But the big question was always for me, how to become one. So today we are going to deep dive into what it really takes to become a pilot, to turn that childhood dream into a reality. And who better to answer all of these questions and guide us than Christopher Marconi, the Senior Vice President of International Development of Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology, one of the most prestigious aviation schools in the world. Chris, welcome to the YouTube channel. Before we dive into the technical details, let's start with your background. How did you get into aviation and international education?
So, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be here and great to engage with all the eyeballs that'll be on this YouTube channel. So, and I'm really happy that you're curating content around aviation education because there's a lot to learn and a lot to talk about. So my background is in higher education for the last 25 years. I've launched and managed large international recruitment systems for colleges.
Okay.
And, about a little over a year ago, joined the team at Spartan and loved what they were doing and was really intrigued with the directional opportunity for aviation on a global basis.
Okay.
And so in the U.S., and I live in the U.S., we always hear about, the lack of pilots that, are in the U.S. because of, administrative issues or policy issues, like, they forced a bunch of pilots into retirement, changed the retirement age after COVID, and then aviation came back, demand came back, and now there's a shortage of pilots that's going to be there for probably the next 20 years. Well, the same shortage of pilots that, we think about sort of myopically in the United States is actually far worse and far more exacerbated in places like the Middle East and Asia.
Okay.
So if we think about the global lack of pilots over the next 20 years, and this is not like Chris Marconi numbers, this is not Spartan numbers, these are Boeing, like the largest manufacturer of aircraft in the world in 2024, whatever that was 5 months ago, came out and said, over the next 20 years, there's going to be a shortage globally of approximately 70,000 pilots and technicians per year. So figure it's 35,000 pilots, 35,000 technicians for the next 20 years. So it's 1.4 million jobs that need to be trained for and created and staffed. And, there's really no end in sight in terms of commercial opportunity for students watching the YouTube channel to go and learn this vocation, become masters of being a pilot or being an aircraft mechanic or aircraft electrician, and the opportunities all over the world to go and get a great job in a career that could take them all over the world. You're literally in the aviation business, but also it's one of the few career paths that really is not going to be displaced. It can be enhanced, but not displaced by artificial intelligence, which is like one of the things that really drives it home for me as a parent when I talk to my kids about it and say, look, what we're doing at Spartan is so cool. And, this is what your dad's talking to students about, or talking to, our partners in India about. And you'd realize it's one of the few jobs, if any, that won't be like just replaced by a robot in over the next 20 years.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It would only, as you mentioned, it would only enhance it, make it simpler, or even add a few more details for you to make the decision at the right moment.
Yeah.
The AI part in aviation. But now let's talk about the main thing, what it takes to become a pilot. Growing up, I had this idea that this journey of becoming a pilot is going to be a long, complicated, and expensive journey. But what is the on-ground reality? What does the actual journey looks like?
So, all you YouTubers out there, you could find a link in the comment section to that we'll add that has there's a video that Spartan just put out for one of our students from Jordan. Came through Spartan from Jordan. Had obviously had all the prerequisites sorted out, but did the 17-month pilot program, got the pilot's license, got the FAA instrument ratings, became a CFI. What's a CFI? It's a certified flight instructor.
Okay.
And then is now on a journey as a flight instructor during his 12 months of OPT, where instead of, he's past paying tuition to fly, and now he's getting paid to teach other people how to fly, both in a simulator, but also up in the sky.
Okay.
Really, it's an amazing, touching story. You should check it out. We've got the link. We'll put it in the comment section. But there's a structured pathway to all of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And for someone who's starting from the very beginning, very let's say a clean slate, scratch, how long does it take to go from zero experience to being eligible to fly commercially?
Let's back it up even further, and I don't want to go too far off script here, but
Sure.
One thing that's really interesting about Spartan, and we meet the students where they are relative to getting them started.
Okay.
So the Aviation Flight Associate Program has monthly starts.
Okay.
So we just had one last week. In March, we'll have one in April, so on and so forth through every month this year, right? And so that allows students who are, maybe have graduated and aren't passionate about where they are in school, or maybe have been waiting and looking for an opportunity to pursue a vocation and a career for which they can see themselves, being excited and being engaged, to calling up you guys and getting started with the enrollment process. And so a student in that case that has they go through and they get their F1 visa, they get their TSA clearance, they could literally be on an airplane and be in a start within 30 days from that happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So they could really just jump right in.
That makes sense. I have a quick follow-up question on that. Like, it just popped into my mind. Being a pilot, is it more about the technical knowledge or the hands-on skills?
I mean, it's really, you can't have one without the other. And that's what makes, the comprehensive approach of, Spartan's sort of pedagogical process is it's one part classroom and academic, because you've got to understand the basic physics and fundamentals of the aircraft and aeronautics, and then you get to jump into a simulator and or jump into an airplane and do the actual piloting. So it's no different than the work that it took to produce this podcast. Maybe it's like kind of 50-60% getting everything set up and understanding how to set things up, and then just going and doing it.
Got it. So let's talk about the Spartan College particularly. What sets the programs offered in this college apart from the others?
So Spartan is a college that has two fundamental education pathways, right? So yes, we offer a four-year degree, but when you back into it and you start out, you're either taking a 17-month associate's in aviation flight, or you're taking the 23-month associate in or diploma in aviation maintenance technology.
Okay.
Once you're done with that, because they're degree programs that also have FAA ratings and licensings that come with them, one thing that sets us apart is the graduate gets 12 months of OPT, right?
Okay.
So we already talked about the example where
Yeah.
the student from Jordan, which could be you, next, was able to go and become a certified flight instructor. Yes. So getting that opportunity to stay on your visa and, acquire very germane and very useful work experience many times could lead to, visa sponsorship by an employer down the road. One other thing that we offer, which is great for our students, is if they want to stay on and get a bachelor completer program, we offer a Bachelor of Science in Technology Management. So that's another 2.5 years onto the program. And that can be taken on campus, it could be taken on a hybrid basis, and it could also be taken fully online. Okay. So it's going to cater to, so if a student wants to come back to Delhi, where we're filming this today, and is working in industry, but they're passionate about, and they promise their mom and dad or whatever the rationale is to get their 4-year bachelor program, then they could do that. But if they're staying in the United States and maybe they're working, maybe they're working as a CFI and they want to, continue their educational pursuits. When they graduate, they'll have another year of OPT available to them. Okay. So it's another 12 months of opportunity to figure out if they want to, stay in the United States long term, if they could go and get somebody to sponsor their visa. But at a minimum, they could get more hands-on work experience that's relative to their degree program. So I think those are important factors when you're trying to develop a proficiency and expertise in a market that you're passionate about, and you're developing your expertise in a vocation. Like, the more experience you could get, then the more apt an employer is to say, boy, that's somebody who's really a go-getter and somebody that is really entrepreneurial and really cares about what they're doing, and would be likely to hire you.
Got it. So talking about the work experience in this field, it's the major concern of the students is about clocking in those flight hours, right? So how does Spartan ensure students meet the required flying time to qualify for commercial pilot jobs?
Well, that's a great question. So the degree program itself has 250 flight hours.
Okay.
So that everybody gets that.
Okay.
If you show up for all your classes, and I show up for all my classes, we're going to get 250 flight hours. You're going to get an opportunity to demonstrate your proficiency, get the licensing, get the ratings that come with the coursework, and get your degree, right? But if you stay on and you're able to become a certified flight instructor and you're inclined to use your OPT time that way, well, all of a sudden, you're able to log even more flight hours, right? So in the video, the flight instructor who keep talking about, but he accumulates another 1,000 hours during the 12 months of OPT. And so that really helps you stand apart from the rest of the flock, if you will, when you're coming back to India or staying in the States or whatever you're doing and looking for a job either with, a regional air carrier or a charter outfit, and or even going into a cadet program. The more hours, the more expertise.
Yeah, that sets you apart from the other people, right? So, Chris, one of the biggest questions and the doubts that the students have about aviation training is mostly about the costing. Can you tell us about how much does a pilot training program typically cost at the Spartan College?
Yeah, so the answer is for 2025, and you can check this. It's in the student catalog. It's just over $100,000.
Okay.
And that includes the tuition. It includes all technology fees, books, uniforms, the international student, the I-20 processing fee, and it's inclusive of everything except for living fees and the housing fees.
Got it. Got it. So let's talk about now when we are discussing about housing, let's talk about the student's life experience there. So moving into a new country for studies is a big decision for people, right? What does the student life look like at the Spartan College?
So what's interesting about Spartan is we have on-campus living situations for international students. So our on-campus housing and accommodations are about $600 a month.
Okay.
And there's various formats for number of roommates you'd have, but the students love it, and it seems to accommodate international students really well.
Got it. So, Chris, earlier during this podcast, you mentioned that there are so many jobs right now popping up in the aviation industry, right? So, what is the demand for pilots looking right now? I know that back in the COVID time it was pretty brutal, but that was expected to be. What's it in today's world?
So, you might recall we mentioned the report that Boeing put out at the end of 2024, and if they're saying that we need about 35,000 new pilots per year for the next 20 years. Those are jobs that are not accounted for, people that are not accounted for that need to be trained incrementally. Because right now the industry and colleges and governmental entities like air forces are doing all they can to just kind of keep up with the demand that's out there and replacing people that are going into retirement. But net new jobs, we're looking at approximately 35,000 net new pilot jobs per year for each of the next 20 years, and net new technician jobs of the same 35,000 net new technician jobs per year for the next 20 years.
Got it. So, Chris, let's just change the gears a bit and let's do a quick challenge. Imagine you're talking to a student who dreams of becoming a pilot but isn't sure where to start. You have 30 seconds to convince them why Spartan College right now is the place to be.
Spartan College is 97 years old. It's one of the oldest flight colleges in existence. We've taught and trained over 100,000 pilots and technicians from over 40 countries.
Oh.
So the provenance is basically unmatched, and the heritage is there. The way that we approach it is, we're an aviation college for pilots and technicians. That's it. So you want to be with your people, you go to Spartan. We also, if you want to double up your experience with a degree and a path toward not only an associate's but a bachelor's program and bachelor's degree, and get the benefit of the OPT like we talked about, you go to Spartan.
Got it. That was a pretty convincing pitch. So thank you, Chris. This has been an insightful conversation with you. Thank you for sharing your insights. And for those of you who are watching, if you ever dreamed of flying, Spartan College is the right place to start. Check out their programs, their website, their brochure that we have pinned in the comments below. And if you have any questions that you want to ask, please be free to ask them in the comments below. Thank you for watching.